Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to today's car video. So what I'm actually going to be reviewing really quick for you is the Tanabe strut bar. It is going to be for the Q50 sedans. Now, for this particular Q50, it is an all-wheel drive model. So the strut bar does fit the all-wheel drive models without any issue. So what I'll do is I'm just going to pop the hood. I already have it on. I'll kind of talk about the general install for this item, and then we'll kind of go from there, but I hope you guys do enjoy the video. Alright, so I got the hood popped up, so I'll just open it up so you guys get a chance to see it. So what I'll do is I'll bring it up a little bit closer so you guys can check it out, but anyway, from just kind of this angle, that's kind of just puts things into perspective of how the strut bar itself is going to look like. I'll get in just a little bit closer for now. Alrighty, so I had a chance to get it popped open. So taking a look at the strut bar, again, you can see that it fits perfectly fine. If I zoom in just a little bit, just to give you kind of a better idea, here's kind of how the fitment looks, and it's looking pretty good. I've had it on this car for probably a little bit over a month now, or about a month. So as we can kind of see here, there are no fitment issues. Kind of came across something totally random, which kind of just has me upset. So I'm just going to tilt it down below. This part is not supposed to be exposed. So I just realized that the shop that was actually repairing my car for a busted fender, because somebody hit my car parked, of course, they didn't put the final piece back on, and I just realized when I popped the hood that it's gone, so that kind of has me a little upset. But anyway, totally irrelevant to the video, but that just kind of tells you right there that some shops just really don't care sometimes when it comes to people's cars. But anyway, just a quick update on where I purchased the Tanabe strut bar. So I actually just ended up finding it on eBay. They had a brand new unit, and it was a pretty good price. I actually got it for 120 bucks. Typically, you're seeing these range from anywhere from $129 to $135. And you can get them used probably for as low as 80 bucks or so from what I've seen, but of course it really depends on who's selling out there. As I mentioned before, this is the all-wheel drive Q50 sports sedan 2014 for the year, and it fits perfectly. So there's always that issue of, well, my car is rear-wheel drive or my car is all-wheel drive, will it fit? So the rear-wheel drive for sure fits because they have it advertised as for the rear-wheel drive model, but the all-wheel drive model fits it just fine. So no issues at all, no issues with the install. It's on there perfect. I'm actually gonna come a little bit closer to kind of the joints there that connect together, just so you can kind of get an idea of just how close it is, because it is pretty close to some of the wiring, pretty close to some of the piping. Not anything to cause alarm for, but again, just so you kind of get an idea when you're putting it together, so then you don't panic that, okay, this is really close to, you know, all these wirings and, you know, that sort of thing. So let me go ahead and get in a little bit closer for you guys. All right, so I'm zoomed in right now on the right side. Now, if I'm looking at my intakes and the strut bar, I can fit my finger under there without really much problem. I can fit just maybe about my fingernail's worth as far as, you know, how far I can push my finger underneath. And then the wirings for, this is probably for the refrigeration, I imagine. I can't really tell at this angle, but anyway, it's not touching anything as far as the wiring. There's even just additional hoses there that it doesn't even rub against, which is great. And you can see that I have the bolt itself kind of set up this way. Probably about 5 or 6 threads showing on each side. I try to be as symmetrical as possible on both ends, just to make sure that there's even torque on the bolts on both ends. Now you can kind of see too, it has a very nice like candy red finish. I'll try to get even closer than that. There's a little bit of dust on it, you know, from being, you know, covered in just regular debris. I daily drive the car, so some kind of pollen or whatever will get in. But anyway, you can see it has a very nice and shiny candy red finish. It's just very great overall. We'll take a look at the other side of the strut bar. All right, so as you can see, the left side, there's not much going on there either. It's actually easier to install it on the left side, I felt. It was a bit tighter on the right side because it's just, again, you can see all the piping there. This one really just has some plastic piping, but that's just a cover for the wiring that's underneath it. So it's very easy to move in and out of the way without worrying about breaking anything. You still, of course, want to just be cautious when you're installing this and not nudge or force anything. If it's not going, that means there's probably something in the way, so it's just all a matter of taking the time. All in all, it probably took about a half hour. I would say the bigger challenge was to make sure you have the right tools, which I didn't have a deep socket, which I needed one to get into the nuts that were basically screwed onto the suspension. So I had to untighten those nuts to basically expose the bolt for this, I guess for the prongs or whatever, to attach to the suspension to basically connect them together. So I felt like that was more of a challenge than really anything else, especially if your car is older. Like my car is about 5 years old, so they were on there pretty good. I would say the left one came off a little easier just because I had to actually change out the entire suspension on the left side because the shock itself blew or whatever, it was leaking the oil, so it needed to be replaced. So that was probably done about 2 years ago, so those came off a little bit easier, but the right side was a little trickier just because that was basically tightened down OEM as can be, so it was on there pretty good. But anyway, it looks awesome. You can kind of see the logo up front there, so it looks very good. I'm overall very impressed with the quality. The price point too for this is super affordable. If we're getting now into the handling and feel of the car, the question is like, okay, do you really feel any noticeable change in handling, improvement, or you know what the deal is? So in my honest opinion, I definitely did feel a little bit more tightness on the car. There's less body roll, at least from my perspective. I feel that when I'm driving the car, if I'm purposely trying to make those very tight turns to really see if I can feel anything. I would say it does a pretty good job. I would say if you pair this with the rear sway bar, this thing is going to be very awesome in handling. Right now I'm lowered on RSR springs, not super downs, just regular RSR lowering springs. So if I'm pairing the springs with this, that's already an improvement to the handling. Since again, the car's center of gravity is lower, it's closer to the floor. And again, by tightening up the front a little bit so you get less of that engine block swaying when you're turning, again, it just keeps the car itself more tighter. So the steering does feel tighter. I guess if I were to compare it, it feels maybe closer to like a base 370Z base suspension, not the Nismo tuned suspension. I would say it feels somewhere like that, maybe. I guess I'm just trying to recall exactly, but what I'm trying to get out of this is you do feel something. So it's very minimal, I feel. Some kind of say they don't feel anything, some feel it tremendously, some are in the middle. I'm probably more in the middle. I feel it on certain turns, or sometimes I hardly feel it at all. It feels like nothing's there, like I didn't do anything. So it really depends how sensitive you are, again, to noticing things like this. But for me, it wasn't anything extreme to where I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is so amazing. It doesn't have any body roll at all. It's not true. It's a sedan. It's a larger vehicle. You're going to definitely still feel some body roll unless you do further extensive suspension work to really tighten this thing up to where it doesn't flex at all on turns. So all in all, is it worth the investment? I don't see why not, because to be quite honest with you, it's not a break the bank modification to the car. It's not something where you have to put your car under the knife to a crazy amount to where you have to like take stuff apart to put it on. That's not the case. You're literally taking off 3 nuts on that side, 3 nuts on this side, putting it on, bolting it on, you're done. About a half-hour job, so super convenient as far as installation goes. I would say the cosmetic aspect of it, it looks great. I think they did a wonderful job. They did a very good job on this paint. It has like a sparkly, candy polished red, almost like a metallic type of, I guess, visual effect to it. So it looks like it's powder coated. It's done beautifully. And again, price point is the big one. If you can probably get it from a fluctuating price of between $119 and $130 on eBay, or you can go to some of the vendors that distribute this, like Concept Z Performance is one, Z1 Motorsport is another that I've seen it. There's probably many others, but those are the two that I would probably end up going to. As far as handling, you know, I would say it's so-so. I can feel something, but it's not to the point where it changes the car completely. If you're doing this on a stock Q50, like stock suspension, you probably won't notice that much. I guess it's hard for me to really explain that since I didn't put this on while it's stock suspension. I do have RSR springs already on the car, so I already have the car lowered a little bit. So this kind of increases the handling a little bit. So I mean, I'm able to still notice something, but the next goal for what I'm trying to do is actually get the rear sway bar started for the back of the car to really tighten this thing up. Again, it's a sedan. You're not going to really get so much crazy handling out of this to make it feel like a two-door coupe or anything. But again, it's still the little things that can make the difference. And I would say this is a good start, you know, especially if you're not trying to break the bank as far as trying to modify your Q50 at least a little bit. But anyway, that's kind of just a quick little review of the Tanabe Strut bar. Again, it fits all-wheel drive Q50s, so for those of you that probably would have that question, like I did, because I was seeing it as advertised as rear-wheel drive. Some said yes, it fits, some said no, it doesn't. Doesn't make sense why there would be a yes or no consensus here. But anyway, it fits. All-wheel drive, no problem. So anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I will try to post more videos, maybe taking some back roads with a lot of turns just to kind of show the handling a little bit more. I would say this is more just the verbal part of the review. There's more to come because there are more plans coming to the car, so there is going to be continued videos for sure as far as modifications go and just some other cosmetic improvements and enhancements that I have for the car. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a great day.